Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the stream. It's stream number 3 of the Tuesday ArcWorlde Hobby Hangout. How's everybody doing? Just double check if you can hear me and everything. Just pop a comment in the live chat, just so I can tell whether or not everything's going through. I know there's a bit of a delay. Hey, is the music okay? I tried to find some. It took me ages to try and find some like royalty-free music for streaming and stuff. Just because, you know, sometimes it's a little bit awkward. I'm just sat there painting for about 10 minutes, not really saying anything. So I thought I'd treat you guys just some background stuff. Ooh. So, what's everyone working on tonight? I think I'll move on to a smaller brush for these. Yeah, I know my face cam isn't on today. I noticed when watching back the last stream that we did last week that the face cam is super laggy. So I think no face is better than a laggy face. Anyway, you came here to see the models, you didn't come here to see me.
Tiny Magic, my daughter is asking why there is not a female halfling with a frying pan, not one that we have seen anyhow.
Well, you know, there's a lot of scope to kind of develop the range. At the moment, a lot of the halfling miniatures, especially for 2nd edition, have been more kind of military based, like, you know, proper uniforms and things like that. A lot of the kind of other companies that do halflings kind of do them in the kind of the peasanty kind of homely, ooh, let's throw pies at them kind of thing, and I want to steer away from that a little bit and try and do them a little bit more kind of organised. But I have had ideas to make some more kind of civilian halflings for you guys, especially the halfling fanatics and collectors out there. Not mentioning any names, but you know who you are.
So for those of you who haven't seen this model before, she is the Wild Elf Blade Master. So she's the irregular type for the Wild Elf faction, and her thing is that she's really quick, very good at attacks, kind of like a glass cannon thing. She can go into sort of a whirling dance of death. So when I was sculpting her, I wanted to give her quite a dynamic pose. So with all these models that I'm painting up at the moment, they are for the web store. So the ArcWorlde 2nd edition Kickstarter miniatures are starting to be shipped this week, which is super exciting. We have all the components we need to get everything out the door. The only problem is that because of the current situation, I can't actually go home and help my parents with the shipping, because all the Kickstarter fulfillment and all the shipping takes place at my mum and dad's house in Yorkshire, whereas I'm hunkered down in jolly old Nottingham where I live. And usually when we do a big Kickstarter like this, I go home and stay up there for a few days or a week or so, or perhaps even longer. But this time around we're having to improvise a tad. Just working on the bone there. Oop, that's my drinking water, not my paint water. Yeah. Well, because my mum is doing all the packing herself this time around, things may take a little bit longer than usual to arrive. We don't know. I mean, in the UK, the postage is based, so we've been told, is basically running out the same. However, we're not too sure what it's like in all the other countries out there, so I think what we're going to do is when we're going to get the UK models shipped first, and then when it comes to shipping the international backers, we'll do a big update and kind of say to people, look, if you want to wait until the coronavirus thing has kind of died down a tad for us to post the stuff, we can do. If not, or we'll give people the option to kind of pay a bit extra on postage for like couriered shipping or something a little bit more safer. Because we'd hate to give for people's packages to go awry. especially after you guys have waited so long for them. Well, not that long.
Those new to the stream, pop in the live chat, say hi.
If you have any questions or anything you'd like to tell us, please go ahead and share. There we go, just a little touch on the bone, don't want to be spending too much time on it. It's not the main focal point of the piece.
So Stephen, we are starting to ship this week. We have all the kind of the components delivered to us, which is really good. Everything's arrived on time. So plan is that we'll be starting to ship the UK based stuff probably this week or at least early next week. So everything is on schedule, nothing to worry about. So we are definitely on track to get the first wave sent out in April. So just highlighting the sword there. Graham Beaton says, great to hear the Kickstarter stuff is close to getting sent out. Can't wait to get some Arc of these gorgeous minis. Thank you very much. Dagfin saying, I hate it when I get all insecure on what I do just because I feel like I need to really put in a good effort. How do you mean? How do you mean? Do you mean on the paint job you're working on at the moment or just in general life? Stephen Mercer, awesome. So the next week or so, just looking forward to painting a massive forest dragon this month. Well, priming it at least. I usually stare at something for a few weeks before the paint comes out. I know what you mean. So just to check, Stephen, were you a backer of the metals, the metal warbands, or the resin warbands? Because the models that are getting sent out this week are the metal people who backed the metal warbands, or the people who backed the first wave of resin pledges. Because when I initially put the Kickstarter up and I had a certain number of resin pledges available, that was because I'd spoken with my dad, who's our resin caster, and we'd agreed on how many sets he would be able to get done by April. Because we at Warplot Miniatures, we've tried to be on time. Eventually, because they were so popular, we did decide to release some more. However, to give my dad some time to get everything cast up, the shipping date is a little later, not too much. So if you are a metal backer or the first set of resin backers, you will indeed get your stuff this month. If not, then don't worry, things will be shipped as soon as we can. Good evening, Robert. Yes, this is indeed the Blade Master. Wayne says one of the things he's doing whilst he's waiting is the bases. Very smart. Stephen Mercer, I backed for the Resin Dragon on its own with some add-ons. Can't quite remember how I backed for it. Well, you might have done the kind of the £1 pledge. Which means that you will be getting your stuff sent. It's just if you got a resin warband that was, you know, not one of the originals. So for you guys who've just arrived, what are you up to tonight? Are you painting along with me? Or are you just chilling after a hard day of being furloughed at work? Wayne, Alex, how is work on the Dragon and Spider campaign supplement going? Well, actually, whilst it was immediately after the Kickstarter that we did quite a bit of work on it, the campaign rules, I would say they're definitely I'd say the alpha will be released soon. I think once everyone has got their models and had some time to paint them up, I'll be putting out the first kind of test run of the campaign rules now. They will take a little bit of a longer time to make, just because they're a little bit more complex than the first kind of core rules, and I want to doubly make sure that they are absolutely watertight before doing the actual printed copy. But there'll be PDFs and stuff available for everyone. But in terms of the campaign, they will take a little bit longer to do. But now that the vast majority of the Kickstarter is done, we will have a little bit more time to work on it. I do have quite a number of other projects on the go, so I'll be doing quite a few big announcements on the 18th of April, which is Salute Day, well, would have been Salute Day. So I'm planning on doing lots of live streaming, lots of announcements. So I will be giving you a little bit more information then. Hey James, how's it going? Wayne, nice. Campaign is something we are looking forward to. Can we help playtest? Absolutely. I'll probably be doing a post sometime soon about the state of the campaign and how you can get involved with helping it and stuff. The bare bones are there, like the mechanics and such are there. It's just ironing out those details, filling out. There's lots of like content and stuff that just needs kind of fluff and lore writing for it and such, which takes a lot of time. Like the rulebook, the core rulebook, which you guys will be getting with your sets later on this month, took probably as much work as all the miniatures for the range. You know, especially because it is just me doing everything. You know, I don't have a team of writers, team of artists, a team of graphic designers, a team of writers. It is just me doing everything. So it takes a little bit longer for everything to kind of get done, but I hope you guys are happy with the results. Les says that he's painting along tonight. More Hero Quest. Obviously, if ArcWorlde toys turn up before the next hobby night, I'll switch across. Excellent. Do-do-do-do. Hey Kyle, tuning in from Canada. Second edition will be my first experience with ArcWorlde. Excited to finally get my hands on these beautiful models come July. Ooh, excellent. Good to have you on the stream, Kyle.
Looking forward to the live stream on the 18th of April. Yes, that should definitely be something exciting. I do have a lot of announcements to make. A lot of them are to do with ArcWorlde, but there are some non-ArcWorlde projects that are very exciting as well. Also in Canada, skiving off from work at the moment, we'll be revisiting my minis from the first Kickstarter. Gotta love those wild elves. Oh, good to see you on the stream, Chris. And, oof, first edition wild elves. I must say, like, I mean, at the time I was very, very happy with the models, but looking back, like, I feel I've come to, I'm at peace with them, but I'm much happier with the second edition versions of them, definitely. Have you gone for wild elves again, Chris? Or have you decided to try a new faction? Painting in the teeth there. Sorry if you can't see this angle, guys. I'm doing the eyes and I just need to get them just right. Yeah. Problem with painting eyes is that you have to have such watered down paint in such tiny quantities. Sometimes when you're just positioning yourself to get it just right, the paint dries on the brush so often. Sometimes it takes a few tries. There we go. There we go. Chris, maybe a faction with bagpipes this time. Oh, do you mean this guy? This guy right here? Just got some of the base colours on there. Haven't got to finishing him yet. Dagvin says, Alex, your emotions into older stuff is legendary.
Are there any first Kickstarter earlier that you still like? No comment just yet. Once again, guys, I'm just doing the pupils on the eyes, which is another very faffy bit, so do excuse me for just a second. Where's the music gone? There we go. Evening, Jacko. Good to see you, buddy. That right eye isn't quite right. Wayne, as an artist creator, you need to be able to learn from your old projects and move on to the greener creative pastures. Exactly. And this is what I say to people. You know, I never, or at least I try not to rest on my laurels. I always try and look to the future. What else can I do? What else can I make? How can I revisit older concepts, make them better next time? And I do acknowledge my older work, but I acknowledge it as, you know, a piece of what I used to do. And it is hard when I look back on something and I think, oof, that's a bit rough. But then I do realise that I was a much younger person when I did them. Just fixing the eyes. I don't think I did them quite right this time, so once again, sorry guys if I'm off screen for quite a while. So, once I've finished the Blade Master, I'll show you a little bit of what else I've been painting. I did finish those halflings I was working on last week.
as well as some other stuff. And then I'll show you what else I'll be working on tonight. So there the eye, well, at least the pupils. Now just need to do a final little touch of white in the corner. I do enjoy doing eyes. They are the most fiddly bits to do, but I do quite enjoy them. I think because they're a bit of a challenge. There we go.
Hello, you
Whoop! Almost crap myself, I've left my Discord on. Where are you? Yeah, sorry about that, guys. My Discord was on in the background and my mate thought I was online. Oh god, he's still here. Rory, shut up. Oh my god, how do I shut this up? Right, anyway, back to where we left off. Robert Bassano. Alex, do you have a Kelpie there around to show us just to compare side by side with the Blade Master? Yes, I do. Oh my god, he's still here. Where is this coming from? Ah. Quit Discord, there we go.
tab monster.
I am a tab monster. Right, so the Blade Master is here, and then the Kelpie is there. I mean, just because of the angle of my camera, I can't get it. Like, you can't really fit the whole model on because the camera is quite close. But the Blade Master is an elf, so she is quite large. To give you an example of the size of an elf. That's how big they are compared to a human. Thank you, Les. Right. Now that the Blade Master is just about done, I mean, I think I probably do a little bit more on her, but I'll do that off camera at some point. Hi David, good to see you. So I like to keep basing quite simple. Just add a few little tufts of grass. Get in there. There we go. What have I used for basing, Wayne? So, for the soil underneath, just a second. Yeah, so for the soil underneath, I used coffee grounds. Then I gave that a pretty good washing over of watered down Mournfang brown. And then once that's dry, to kind of show the leaves and things like that, I used dried basil, kind of Italian herbs kind of situation. Because you don't need to spend any money on those fancy basing materials. You can find everything you need in the kitchen. So I've just put an ink, a yellow ink
or yellow shade on those eyes just to really make them pop. And I'll do a final white highlight. So there's the final eye. I think I'll go around it just with a little bit of the elf flesh tone. Just me being faddy, just me being, you know, pernickety. Add a little bit of white. For those of you who have joined, don't be afraid to say hi. Tell us what you're working on. Our cheesy royalty-free music has finished. Oh, here we go. So the final, but arguably most important bit of any model is to paint the ring of the base. I always find it's just like the final piece, like the topping on the cake. Just neatens everything up. Chris is painting up some core Space Marines tonight. What's that? Jacko, I received an email yesterday about ArcWorlde Kickstarter Pledge Manager. Can we still add to it? Thought the boat had long sailed. No, Jacko. That was about... I don't think it was yesterday. I think I sent it a few days ago. About giving you guys a last chance to change your shipping addresses. Because obviously I think quite a few of you had planned to have your stuff sent to work. And with the current situation going on, I imagine you probably wanted to potentially change your addresses to get them sent back to home. Unfortunately, that's finished now. All the labels are printed out, all the invoices have been made. So if you have forgotten, then I'm afraid you've kind of missed the boat. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is important, and this is why you need to read your updates. And there we go. One finished Blade Master. So we'll put her on the shelf, and I can show you guys a little bit of what else I've been working on. So first things first, I might as well get the favourites out of the way. Here are the halflings I was working on for the past two streams. So here we have the Town Guard. The Militia with Great Weapon. And the Monster Hunter. Now haven't quite finished her yet. I still need to do her base, but I always enjoy painting halflings. I've done enough of them now. I feel like I've got it down to a good formula. Here's the second Lycan Hawk. Very simple paint job, but quite happy. The third Wood Fiend. There. A bit more ambitious paint job. The Will-o'-the-Wisp for the Undead Raiders. I also have another model that I've been working on. This is a new model that you may not have seen before. So he is a Goblin War Boss. And he's not for ArcWorlde. He's not an ArcWorlde miniature. He's actually for one of my announcements that'll be coming on the 18th of April on Salute Day. So, no more information until then. David Priest, any plans to do any sculpting on one of the live feeds, and would any of you other guys like to see that? Absolutely, like I would be absolutely down for some sculpting. So if you guys would be interested in watching me sculpt, just pop a comment in the live chat. If we get more than a certain amount, I'll definitely consider it. The main reason why I've been painting is just because I do have a lot of painting to do to get everything ready for the web store and things like that. You know, I'd rather get all the painting done first before I move on to other projects. Les, no pupils on the town guard or militia, or just a shoddy monitor at my end. Lovely work though. No, there is. Let me show you again. So you can see little dots of black there on him. And once again on him. Ian Creasy says, what scale was that figure? I'll be converting him for ArcWorlde use, a mercenary. Well, let's say a sneak clue of what my surprise range will be is that he could be any scale that you want him to be. It's entirely up to you. I'm sure a few of you will be able to figure out what it is just from that, but I shall say no more for now. So, big yes for sculpting from Tiny Magic, sculpting from Graham, sculpting from Kyle. Cool. Well, once all the Kickstarter models are painted, then I shall definitely looking to do some sculpting. Right, so moving on to the next project for tonight, I'm going to leave it to you guys to vote on which model you would like to see me paint. So let me show you your choices. So option number 1 is finishing off this Wild Elf Warrior with a bow. She's almost done. Option number 2, this clan beast for the beast folk. Nice big piggy. Option number 3, we have the war bard for once again for the beast folk. Option number 4, this guinea pig lady, one of the vermin, once again for the beast folk. Option number 5, the undead halfling for the undead raiders. Option number 6, the undead crossbowman, once again for the undead raiders. Option number 7, finishing off the other troll hound for the halflings. Option number 8, the P-Griff, which is one of the monsters from the bestiary. Could be working on him. Or the last option, the fairy dragon. Cast your votes now, champs. I'm gonna go grab a drink. Okay, so immediately it seems like there seems to be a definite winner. So for the next model, I shall be working on the fairy dragon. Now I have quite a few ideas for her to kind of make her slightly little bit different in terms of painting. So for the wings, I've got this. Where is it? What do I do with it? Oh yeah, here it is. Got some of this kind of iridescent nail stuff. Now this did fall out in my pocket, and I do actually have some left in my pocket that I need to kind of scrape out, but I'm planning on sticking this on the wings, so to make them kind of shimmery, but that'll probably be the last step. So might not get to it on this stream, but should work out quite nicely. Naturally, one of the things I will have to do if I am doing the fairy dragon is I'm going to have to clear out my paint palette, because not paint palette, sorry, my painting water, because it's a bit dirty. you can't really tell with the rest of the colours, but when it comes to painting white, it really is noticeable. Just gonna go clean my paint palette. Not paint palette, paint water. Be right back. There we go. Gonna get a much nicer white now. So there we go. There we go. So quite a nice, pristine white all over. I think this will be quite a subtle paint job. Jacko says, how many different pieces does the fairy dragon come in? It comes in 4 pieces. So you have the kind of the tree with the body and the head, both wings, and the tail. Ian says, I've cast the Hangout onto my telly, but you aren't in the top left corner. Is it blank? Yes, it is blank at the moment. When I was watching back the last week's stream, I noticed that the camera, or face cam, was very, very laggy. So I thought that no camera is probably better than, you know, a rubbish camera. Wayne Burton, The Sound of Nottingham. How do you mean by that? Ian Creasy, well, can we get rid of it then? It's blocking a lot of what Alex is painting. Let's see what I can do. Ta-da! And as if by magic, so I think I'll do a little bit more. Probably do the pink on the other side of the wing. Oh, did you hear some police sirens? Okay. We'll probably even out. Paint job on this side as well. Which colour is that, David? the pink. So the pink is actually a colour that I made. So it's a mixture of just your ceramite, excuse me man, ceramite white and the Blood Angels red contrast paint. So nothing too fancy. I do mix most of my colours. So I'll probably go over the head again in white, just to get all that. So you look for something like this. Yeah, absolutely, David, and I think the fact that it is a contrast paint does help. I haven't explored too much with them so far, but what I have seen of them have been quite good. Like the two of the colours I actually just really struggle with getting right is red and white. Which I'm going to need a lot of for the next ArcWorlde faction I'm going to have to paint up. So I've only got the red and white contrast paints so far. Have you guys played about with them yet? What have your experiences been so far? Tits. There we go. Hey Alex, how's it going, buddy? David hasn't tried the contrast paints yet. Might have to invest. Yeah, like I am kind of tempted just to go the whole hog and just buy the whole set rather than cherry picking. But then again, like as I said earlier, I don't really use that many paints straight out of the bottle. So I feel like it might be a bit of a waste of money if I go and buy all of them. I think I need to just line that a bit more pink.
Alex says, good, excited to get the Troll Bridge starter set and waiting to pre-order second edition. Brilliant. So in the Troll Bridge starter set that you just bought, you will actually get the first edition book. We haven't updated them to second edition just yet. But all the rules of it will be available online, so you'll be able to play all the models in there. So don't worry about that, buddy. And yeah, so the pre-order second edition stuff will go online on the 18th of April. So the day that Salute was meant to be is when the models will go up for pre-order. Wayne says, I suggest getting a few for mixing and add on one you might need later. That's in regards to contrast paints. Cool. Do you recommend any in particular? Mr. Elson, good to see you, sir. What are you working on tonight? David, finally got a friend to print a rulebook for me. My printer wasn't up to it. Looks amazing. Wonderful. Did you order one on the Kickstarter? Because if you have, it'll be coming around soon. Good evening, Richard. Hope you're well. Right. Snakebite leather. They've brought snakebite leather back.
Oop.
Dagvin says, I envy you guys who are just getting into ArcWorlde. Finding this game with these models is the best thing that's happened to my hobby life ever since I started. Oh, you cutie. Thank you very much. Elston says, just finished a game of Blood Bowl on the Xbox. Now chilling, but I am working on a Samurai Stormcast army. Cool. Are there any pictures for us to potentially have a look at yet? You asking for a friend? Wayne says, the story and scenarios in the first edition book are great. Well, you'll be pleased to know that there are actually 8 scenarios in the second edition rulebook too. The grey or black for shading, and I love Snakebite Leather too. Cool, I might have to look into those. I mean, if it wasn't for the current situation, I would just nip down to the Games Workshop in town, because it's one of the benefits of living in the centre of Nottingham is that I probably have more access to Games Workshop than most people in the world. Ooh. Where's my music gone?
I'm running away from this pain. I'm trying to find a new way where the sunshine is.
Elston says, I can send you some pics, but don't think YouTube allows anymore. Pics inbound. Dave says, can I try to get a pot of scorched earth on eBay? My favourite dark brown. One available, £20. Thieving so-and-sos. Ooh. Very nice, Elston. Where'd you get the bits for that? Right, so at this point we have Fairy Dragon here. I do want to kind of keep those really soft pastel tones. Elston says he got the bits from Puppets. Whoa, very cool. Loving that there are more and more dragons being introduced to ArcWorlde. Well, as a man who loves his dragons as you are, I think you're going to be very happy with what's to come. Because I'm a man who loves dragons as well, and I love sculpting dragons. So as long as there are people out there willing to buy them, I am more than happy to sculpt them. I think what I'll probably do in the future is, because obviously sculpting a big dragon is a huge amount of time taken out of my working schedule, for the time it takes to sculpt one dragon, I could potentially sculpt a whole faction. So I think what I would do, what I'm planning on doing, is doing like separate Kickstarters for them. So I would do a dragon, probably a few scenarios or campaigns for it, plus potentially a few special characters to go alongside it, and then do that just as a Kickstarter. Just popping some stuff on the base. Because releases straight to retail just don't really have the same clout. Like I'm not sure there is as much anti-Kickstarter sentiment as there was a few years ago, but there are a few people who outright refused to back Kickstarters. They were like, "Oh no, nobody releases anything anymore. It's always on Kickstarter, blooming Kickstarter." And I tried to do a few releases away from Kickstarter, but they just don't have the same clout as a Kickstarter. Because with the Kickstarter, there's a lot of pomp and fanfare, everyone gets hyped, everyone feels a part of something, and yeah, it might take a little while to deliver, but it's the Kickstarter experience. And I think, especially for you guys abroad, it's a chance for you to kind of buy everything in one go and save on shipping, because, shipping's always going to be an issue. So I've tried both, and, Kickstarter is by far and away the better option for releasing products, at least in this industry. And unfortunately, the people who are the loudest about complaining about Kickstarters often fall deathly silent when you actually put the stuff online and say, "Hey, look, that thing you wanted me to do? Here you go." So I think I will be sticking to Kickstarter for the foreseeable future when I'm releasing models. How has all of your experiences been with Kickstarter in the past? So there, I just put some Agrax Earthshade on the base, just to kind of darken it and pick out those coffee granules. And when that's dry, it will dry into like this. So Elston's saying his experiences with Kickstarter are good, apart from Alien vs Predator, which went drastically wrong, but I ended up getting a double pledge, which was nice. Yeah. Ooh. Wayne says, future Kickstarters sound good. Just need to have a trusted creator like yourself. Well, thank you very much. I am a bit of an old hand at it now. This Kickstarter, second edition, will be my seventh Kickstarters. Yeah, and there will be definitely 2 more coming this year. One for ArcWorlde and one for Warp Team Fantasy Football, which is my fantasy football range, but more about that on the 18th of April. Dagfin, the only founded ones that I've backed have been Warplock. As such, no one comes close to the thrill of the first one. Ah yes, those lofty days. I don't know, I feel like second edition was quite good. Jacko says, not had a bad Kickstarter yet, touch wood, I keep a good record. Ooh, fancy sharing your tips on how to avoid being stung? Right, what should I do about those eyes? Shit. Just working on the eyes now, so once again I apologise if I'm slightly off screen. So I'll be giving her blue eyes. Alex says, ever thought of a terrain-based Kickstarter for ArcWorlde? I have, and the answer so far has been no. I think there are so many great terrain companies out there that are amazing at what they do. And I just don't think, as a sculptor, I could compete in quality or in price, because making terrain is very expensive in terms of material costs. And when you think about it, if you cast one building, say, there's probably enough raw material in there for about 20 models. But then you can't charge 20 times the price. I've thought about potentially doing printable files, STL files, sculpting the terrain digitally and then allowing people to print it off using digital printers. Not digital printers, 3D printers. I think that's probably the closest I'll get, but I think, as I said, there are so many amazing companies out there that already do it. Oh, there we go. It's a bit rough, but I'll do for now.
And ArcWorlde in its actual setting, it's it's a pretty stock fantasy setting, so I don't think I could do stuff that's that much different than what is out there already, Wacko Alex will send you a jar of Kenko. Absolutely. Dagfin says, think just getting some sketches and art of what thou imagine the works to be like would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice in theory, but I think what the problem is that anything that I create for ArcWorlde or for any of my ranges, I have to quantify in terms of the time and effort put into it. It's like, yes, I could spend a day or 2 days making art, like sketches for buildings or whatever, but they'd be pretty standard buildings, like type in fantasy buildings and you pretty much got what it would be. But then what could I have sculpted in that time, or what could I have painted in that time, or written, or whatever, It's one of the big changes I had to make to my kind of creative process when I started doing ArcWorlde and Warplock full time was that everything I make had to be not monetizable, but it had to be worth something tangible. And I think drawing some houses would be nice, but I think I could sculpt a model in that time, or paint a model that makes it look better and therefore would make that model sell more. Sorry, the dragon's a little bit out of focus, guys. When I did the focus on the camera for the stream, I wasn't expecting to be working on it. So. Question from Wayne. What influences have informed the vision of ArcWorlde? Very good question. So I would say, first and foremost, one of the biggest inspirations for me creatively has been the works of Terry Pratchett and the illustrations of Paul Kidby for Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. I've always been a big Pratchett fan ever since I was a small child. So in terms of visual style, that's always been a big inspiration for me. In terms of gameplay, I, at least for second edition, I wanted to make a not just a flat war game, but one that kind of incorporated a lot of kind of role playing as well. Like I just started playing D&D for the first time, and I enjoyed the kind of the role playing aspect of that quite a lot. So I wanted to include bits of that, but also just I kind of harken back to memories as a teenager trying to wrap my head around the rules for Warhammer and just getting a bit bored with it, you know, with the kind of complexity. So I wanted to make a game that kind of had the fun, had the kind of the general structure of a war game, because that was my background, but with that kind of lightheartedness of casual RPG play. But in terms of the actual visual style, as I said, Terry Pratchett, video games such as Fable or Overlord have been big inspirations. Just general fairy tale story. The Edge Chronicles, that was the illustrations in that were really influential to me as a kid. But I think also for a lot of it, I felt like I did work in kind of a bit of a bubble, because I was, I've never been formally trained as a sculptor. So I think a lot of my kind of visual style comes from, I guess, just kind of sitting on my own, creating for years and years and years, and just kind of evolving over time. In terms of monster design, nature is always a huge inspiration for me. I've always been a big fan of animals, of biology. I studied human genetics at university, which incorporated a lot of biology and anatomy studies and things as a kind of like starting kind of topics.
and I always look to nature as big inspiration for when I'm creating my beasties. I go into this quite a lot when I teach my sculpting courses. So I do teach kind of beginners miniature sculpting courses. I do 2. One of them is just kind of general sculpting for characters for miniatures. So kind of focusing more on humanoid figures. But then I also do one that's focused more on monsters. And in the monster section, I always kind of go through all these different kinds of animals where you can get inspiration for poses or skin textures. I always, when I am designing a beastie, I try and think to myself, well, what exists like this already? So an example would be when I was designing the river trolls for ArcWorlde. One of the things I asked myself was, okay, so what are big, kind of smelly animals that live in water, that are aquatic, very dangerous? And obviously the first thing that came to mind was hippos. So when I came up with the concept of them, what they'd look like, I based it around hippos, like the skin tone, the kind of the teeth, the bulbousness of the head and nose and things. And I feel that really adds to any kind of concept if you can base it on nature. There we go. I think she's looking quite nice. Let's see if I can turn my flux off. There we go, that's better. Absolutely, Wayne. It's a bit more shade. Ooh. So,
think she's almost done in terms of the kind of the flesh. So I think now I'm going to try and test out the kind of shimmering scales on her wings. Oop. I think this is a bit too big a piece. The iridescent material is actually from for nails, Dave. So you'd find this stuff at nail salons. Did you hear me, Dave? So it should be for nail salons. So we should see. I think that works quite well. Unfortunately, it's going to take Pig ages. Excellent, Dave. Although to be fair, like this stuff, it's not expensive. Like I got a pack of so many different kind of types on eBay for about, I think it was for around £2. Although I just wish that it hadn't fallen apart in my pocket. So currently I have a coat over there that has an entire pack of these little crystal things kind of sitting at the bottom of the pocket, and I've not been brave enough to go down and try and salvage them, although now that I've started working on this, I think it's gonna give me the onus to do so. There we go. I think I'll use this opportunity to get rid of some of the bigger ones. I think this one's a tad bit big. There we go. It's a shame that the actual proper shimmer doesn't really come across on the camera. Really, you do get that kind of iridescent blue and green, as well as the pink. I also have some Arcanite coloured flakes, which I might use, although could be a little bit too intense. Let's give these a go. Oh no, they're quite nice actually. Oh, that's a bit of a busted one. So as you can kind of see, once I've properly layered them on, that should look quite nice. Just be a hell of a lot of work. Hey everybody, I know I'm a little late, but may I be allowed a rules question? Sorry, just going up. From Daz. I've read the second edition rules as provided. The only thing I stumbled upon was the movement. Is it always the same? No matter if I'm running, jumping, or climbing. Yes, so the way that movement works in ArcWorlde does is you get a free movement per turn. So depending on what movement stat is on your character, usually for like a human or a halfling, it's 4 inches. Now, you can move 4 inches anywhere you want, whether it's up, down, left, right, forward, sideways, as long as you, as a player, think that that character could move to that place, then you can do it, as long as it's within those number of inches. Now, if you want to move further than that, you can attempt a leg it roll. And what a leg it roll is essentially your character attempting to like really push extra hard to try and leg it that extra distance to get to where they need to go. And to do that, you spend an action point, and that allows you to make as many rolls as you wish to get further than your character originally went. The roll that you roll on a d6 is the extra number of inches that you can move. However, if you get a 6 on that first roll, your character is a little over enthusiastic and they actually fall over and become prone. Now if they're successful, they don't roll a 6, they move that extra number of inches, and you can, without spending any more action points, attempt to move again. However, in the next roll, you fall over on a 5 or a 6,
and the roll after that, a 4, a 5, or a 6, the roll after that, 3, 4, 5, 6. So every time you roll, it gets more and more risky. So it's up to you whether or not you want to risk your character falling over and being prone and vulnerable. And there are certain kind of terrain that halves your movement or makes it more difficult for you to move through it, but that's all covered in the rules. Okay, so I think I'll probably add more iridescent kind of flakes once I've scraped them all out of my coat pocket. So I'll do that off camera, just because it's quite boring. Cheers. That is simple enough. I like it simple. Amazing. Well, that was one of the core design kind of ethos. Yeah, ethos. Excuse me. Design ethos when I was creating second edition is that if it can be simplified, it will be simplified. There's no point making things more complicated than they need to be, because rules get in the way of gameplay, in my opinion. I know that there are quite a few gamers who like, really deep rules that they can proper chew into, but I think a lot of things can be determined by gentlemen's agreements. Like shooting, for example. There are some games that have really complicated kind of mechanics on, can you shoot here, can you shoot there? Whereas in ArcWorlde, it's can the model see the model? If so, they can shoot it. Simple as that. And you talk to your opponent on whether or not you think that the model can see the target. And if you both think that they can, then you can. Simple as that.
Sorry, Goblin. I'm so sorry.
Dar says, I can see the appeal of more detailed tactical rules, however for me gaming time is limited, and when I get to play I'd rather have simple rules and can actually play than having to read up on them all the time. No, absolutely, like, as I said, I completely get, like, complex, deep rules, especially for those who are into quite competitive play. you know, there is definitely a joy of having a rule set and working out how to use it to your advantage. But for me, I mean, me as a player myself, I like quite simple games. Like, even when I'm playing stuff like D&D, for example, I always pick really like simple characters, just because I don't know. I guess maybe because I design, or at least work in the gaming industry myself. When I do actually get time to play, like you does, like I don't want to spend most of it looking at rules and things like that. I'd rather just get on with it. Right, guys, you know what time it is. It's battle time. Let's go grab the bowl. What drew me to ArcWorlde, says Alex, were the unique character designs. Remind me of the character designs from the Quick Game Sacrifice. Ah, I don't think I've heard of that one. I'll have to have a look. And with a shake, we have a rather luscious, or at least the start of a rather luscious forest floor. So, and what I like to do, and you don't have to do this, this is just my personal preference, is just to kind of blend everything together. I do a very, very, very thin wash of brown.
What we do here is go back, 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 back.
So we have that. So now, and I'll be waiting for that to dry, and because I have to get the rest of these little flakes, I think I'll be calling it a night. Good 2.5 hours of chilling out. Now, just before I log off, is there anyone who has any more questions? Anything they'd like to ask that I'd like to that they would like me to talk about. I'll hang around for another 5 or 10 minutes just to wait and see if any of you guys have got anything else you want to know. Whilst I'm doing that, I'll just tidy up the bases on these. Question from Alex. How do you base your miniatures? Did I hear right? Basil and coffee grounds. Yep, you are absolutely correct. The kind of give a base layer of kind of mud and gravel and stuff with used coffee grounds, glued to the base with PVA glue. Let that dry. Give it a wash of, like this, of the Mornfang brown. Then once that's dry, I give it a wash with Agrax Earthshade, and then sprinkle of basil over the top, then a little bit of a wash with the Mornfang brown again, and then bits of tufts of grass. Simple as that. Wayne says, this evening has been good. Next time, undead painting. Excellent. I think I might join you. So, thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight, guys. Hopefully I'll see you all again next week, 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. I'll be doing these streams every week. If you do have any questions that you'd like me to ask, or not ask, answer, let me know in the comments. And I shall see you all same time next week. Thank you very much for chilling out with me tonight on the ArcWorlde Hobby Hangout, and see you again soon. Ta-ta.